Welcome to the show, Mr. Ted Hazard. Is that how you say it, Hazard or Hazard?
No, you got it right.
Hazard.
I'm not like French or anything like that.
Okay. You were you're very dapperly dressed. I didn't know if you were Hazard,
Never thought about it that way. I do
right?
I do dress pretty dapper.
Right.
You know, I kind of feel like if I started kind of pronouncing my name differently, it might go with this whole like I think I'm better than you aesthetic I'm trying to pull off right now.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Just give me 10% of the royalties afterwards, and we'll be set. No, but Ted Hazard, uh, folk punk blues musician from northeastern Pennsylvania. You and I've been familiar with who you are for a long time, and I'm sure we've been in the same room at the same time and probably have never spoken more than two words, if any, at all. Uh, so this will be fun.
We talked briefly at the 2020 Steamtown Music Awards,
I thought so. Yeah.
and I don't remember the conversation. I just remember you were a little fun, and I was just kind of like swimming in the whole, hey, I just won a Steamtown Music Award, so this is pretty cool kind of deal. So it was like interesting.
And that was we were going through COVID at the time. It was probably a very different atmosphere for the Steamtown Music Awards that year.
Yeah, there was, I mean, that year compared to the recent award ceremony, it was like night and day because when we went in 2020, there was barely anybody there. And then this year, you could barely even get through the V spot.
Yeah, it's always one of my favorite weekdays, weekends of the year because it's a time like, musicians typically are always playing out on the weekends. So this event is on a Thursday night at the V
Mhm.
spot. Vinny and Frank go all out, get a tent outside, make sure everyone's comfortable as possible, and just a great night of hanging out with the people that are in the industry doing the thing.
Yeah, it's really fun because I mean, like me being a quote unquote folk musician, I don't get to play a lot of shows with like metal bands or hip hop artists, or I mean, I do get to play shows with pop punk bands all the time, but a lot of like different bands and different genres I don't really get to perform on the same stage with, but I know them. So like when they're all kind of in the same room, it's kind of like a big family reunion, and it's like, oh hey, I haven't seen you. How you been? You know,
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
kind of deal.
What award did you win in 2020?
That year, I won the People's Choice Award for Best Folk Americana or Blues Musician.
All right, so add that to the list. Folk, punk, blues musician, award-winning musician from northeastern Pennsylvania. And you're also like an illustrator too, correct?
Yeah, I've been an animator since I've been an illustrator since as long as I can remember, and I've been an animator since 2014, and I still do that here and there. I just put a film out last year, Devil to Pay, um, which is actually the first chapter in a film series. It was supposed to be a pilot for a series, but when I realized it was just going to be way too much work for one person to do, I was just like, we're just going to make this short film series because I think it'll hit a lot harder if we do it that way, as opposed to trying to put out 15 minutes worth of animation every month. There's just no way without an actual dedicated team to do that. Um, but now I'm working on like, you know, smaller stuff for the workload because I got a lot going on. So it's impossible these days for me to just like sit down for 20 hours a week and try to belt out animated shorts every other week. So I'm just kind of trying to do something a lot easier in my wheelhouse, I should say.
Sure.
Trying to make it good quality, but not sacrificing anything because I'm overworking myself.
Gotcha. Yeah, let's talk about you. You're very busy. You have a new album coming out December 2nd called Deconstructive Criticism. and I went through a little bit of your catalog on Spotify, and I don't think I realized uh, how much music you have out there.
Yeah.
This
It's
is probably if you count all of them separately, I think this is what, like, your 10th release,
10th full length album
right?
because I put out a lot of singles or EPs,
Right. I'm talking,
but
but 10 full releases is pretty impressive.
yeah, and I I think this one's going to be, in my opinion, I think this one's the best one, and I'm only saying that because it took us, usually a record when I do it. Well, number one, when I used to do records, I would either record them myself or I would go to somebody with like a very low budget studio, like in an apartment or something, or somebody's basement, or they'd bring the studio to me. Um, and it would usually take me a night or at most maybe a weekend to get it done. And this record, we did it with Joe Loftus at JL Studios, and we started it with the intention we were going to finish it in a day. And I'm like, I have 17 songs. And Joe kind of just raised his eyebrows. He's like, okay, well, buckle up. And at 4 a.m. in the morning on the first day, he's like, I think we got banjo done, most of the vocals, and we got the stand up bass done. And Joe was just kind of like, all right, well, let's wrap it up here and figure out another day to do this. And I was like, okay, if we have to. And then the next day, we did like mostly piano tracks, but we didn't get like a lot done. And then we ended up having to do a third day. So realistically, it took us from August to October to get this record done. But the ending result is insane because compared to the other records I've done, where it's mostly just like me playing the acoustic guitar and maybe like a bass here and there or something, this one has pretty much everything I've ever wanted to put on a record. It's got, the banjo, it's a major thing in there. It's got the guitar, it's got the grand piano, it's got the stand-up bass, it's got the washboard, it's got horns. Um, it's just a lot, and it really came together very well. And Joe did an amazing job mixing it, and Jay from S Dakota helped with engineering it as well. And it's just they're a big part of it, and everybody involved, just did an amazing job.
Yeah, I feel like you're like a songwriting machine too, because there was a couple times, or a couple years rather, that you released, I believe, two full lengths in a year. At least that's what Spotify says.
Well, my big issue, I know when I first started doing solo stuff, here's what happened. So in 2009, I was in a band called Rage for Cousin Jamie, which is based on some Bill Cosby movie, according to our old drummer. And we the drummer basically said, he was like, yeah, I'm quitting because I want to start like a family and stuff, and I don't have time for this anymore. So I was like, all right, that's fine. I said to the other guys, I'm like, do you want to just jam acoustic until we find a drummer? And they were like, hell no, we ain't doing that. So I just had all these songs that we didn't record, and I was like, all right, I guess I'll do something with these. And then at the same time, um Marcelino Diaz from the band All the Damn Vampires right now, he was like learning how to play guitar, and he was like, "Can you teach me how to play guitar?" And I was like, "Maybe I'll teach you how to play my songs, and then if you could play those, you could probably play guitar good." So I taught him my songs, and then he just started playing shows with me, and we were kind of like a duo for a little bit. And then we broke up. So then I had a bunch more songs that I had, and finally I was like, all right, well, I better do something with all these songs. So I recorded between 2010 and 2011 and kind of into 2012 about 3 records, and kind of just released them all separately, just because it was like I had all those songs there and I was like, I had to do something with them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Before I could get anything new out. With me, a lot of the time, it's I'm always writing, I'm always creating something. Um, so that's probably why there were a lot of records in the one year. But it got to a point where I would try to record something new every single year. And then when I got up to about 2015, when I did self reconstruction, I was just kind of like, maybe I should cool it on putting out full length records every year because I think it just kind of it doesn't really hit home. You know what I mean? Like if the band puts out a record every single year, it kind of loses its appeal.
Mm-hmm.
So it started with me. I got to the point where I would just take time on songs, and like I would just write a bunch of bare bones for songs, like in a couple of months in one year, and then I would kind of sit on those and just tweak them and tweak them and tweak them for about like 2 or 3 years until I finally was like, you know what, I'm ready. I'm gonna record these. That's kind of what happened with Martial Law. Was I put out, I did some EP stuff, but then I ended up doing Charles Manson Dance Academy, which kind of blew up in my face. And then the pandemic happened, and I had a bunch of songs that I was just kind of sitting on, and I was like bored, like everybody else was. It's just writing. So that's kind of where all those songs came from. And then I just, nothing was changing, so I just kept writing, and then I did, and the flowers were still standing that summer with Joe Loftus. And then after we recorded that, I kind of just started making some blueprints for newer songs, and that's where these songs came from. Because realistically, they were all kind of written in the fall of 2020, fall winter of 2020, and then 2021 and most of 2022. I was just kind of tweaking them until I liked them enough to actually put them on a record.
Gotcha. Now, you said the Charles Manson Dance Academy. I feel like I played a song or two by them when I had a radio show. Is that accurate?
You definitely did.
And I don't think I realized it was you.
Yeah, that was me.
That's funny.
Well, I started. Well, the original idea for Charles Manson Dance Academy was I was playing with my old friend Adam, and he's an amazing drummer. And I was just really itching to play like something full band. So I was like, hey, would you want to play some of my songs with me, like just drums, and we'll just do like a full band thing? And I'm like, I know you're busy. Like you could play when you can play, but if you can't play, it's fine. I'll just play acoustic. And then after the first practice, I was like, I can curse on here, right? I'm assuming.
Oh yeah, you're good.
I was just like, fuck this. Let's just start a new band. So that's where Charles Manson Dance Academy came from. And we kind of blew up for a little bit. It was like we were like the new pop punk band in the area through most of 2019 into what I don't even remember when we were banned. It was like 2018 to 2019 into 2020. And we even, we did the EP and everything. And it's just, I wish that band, something could have happened with it, but, issues with members and me not really feeling it. It just kind of just blew up in my face. I have this issue where like I'll do something with the band, like a full band with my music, and then something will happen to just discourage me, and I'll just be like, you know what? Maybe I'll just do this by myself for a little bit, and then if you guys are still down to play with me when I get my shit sorted out, then we'll play again. And then they usually move on to different things, and I'm stuck playing by myself again.
Right. Well, I mean, you have a ton of music, and like one thing I really enjoyed was some of the titles of the songs. I mean, "Fuck You, It's Christmas," "Law and Order," SVU, Hazleton, "Facebook Status Update," "Love Me, I'm a Libtard." That's just a quick pull off of some of these albums. Like, how do you come up with all these songs? And then the creative names for them. I mean, I haven't listened to every song to see if the title or the lyrics matches like what the title kind of describes it as. Like, how does it all come together?
Well, for me, when I was younger and I used to write, was in a punk band. I'd always thought being in a punk band, you had to write political songs. And then as I got older, I kind of realized, number one, I don't know shit about politics. And number two, if I took that same enthusiasm to write things about my life that are troubling me, then I probably won't have to pay a therapist. So a lot of times it's about my own personal issues and things of that nature. But sometimes I'll take a couple different things, like topics, and kind of combine them into one song. Like I have this one song. Oh my God, what the hell is it called? It's called Blue Screen of Death. And it's kind of a real jazzy number. And the song is, I wrote it while I was animating season 3 of Crust Tunes. And I was like just brutishly single at that time. And I was kind of doing the whole Tinder thing. And I'm just thinking to myself the whole time I'm going on these Tinder dates, I'm like, you know what? I don't even know this person. They could like stab me in the back parking lot of a bar and put me in a trunk, and that could be the end of me, and nobody will know or care. And I kind of took those two ideas together, and I was like, this is a good song. Like, and it worked because people like that song. But like, I'll do that a lot. Like, there's a lot of newer songs on the record, like Destructive Criticism. It's about some old band acquaintances and some old relationships, and a lot of it is about trauma. And I kind of put that all together with a lot of topics about the housing crisis, you know, and kind of made an analogy of that, which was, it's pretty good. But yeah, like I'll just take like a few different topics, make them into one big song, and somehow it just makes, you know, a good song and ends up with a kind of funny or catchy title.
Yeah.
Like Xenophobia Warrior Princess.
No, I love the names of the song. It's one of those things that's always like I noticed that, especially like Panic at the Disco, for instance. They have a lot of like cleverly titled songs, and even Fall Out Boy. Their song titles are pretty creative as well. So it was one thing I noticed.
Yeah, I mean, like I feel like for me at least, like a lot of people think that I'm like a stand-up comedian, and I don't see why, because if they actually listen to my lyrics or my songs, they would realize, oh, this dude's got a lot of problems that he's trying to sort out. But I feel like with naming the songs things like that, you know, like "Fuck You, It's Christmas" and "Xenophobia Warrior Princess," like that's eye-catching. People be like, "Oh, what's this song about?" And then they'll hear it and they'll like it because they gave it a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Like I got a song called "The World Is My Transgender Bathroom and I'm No Longer Afraid to Die," and that song is about hiding in the bathroom at a show from somebody you don't want to see. But you'll see that title and you'll be like, all right, I'm going to give this a try. What's this about?
That's smart. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. You mentioned Tinder. What's any interesting Tinder stories?
Wow, that's years ago. That's years ago, man.
No names, but I mean,
there's one really interesting one where I did meet a girl, and we started hanging out, and then I find out like she lived in this apartment by herself, barely any furniture or anything, and at like 2 o'clock on Sunday, she was always like, "All right, you have to go because I have to go walk over and pick up my kid from my ex-husband's who lives down the street." I'm like, "Okay, that's normal, perfectly normal. Hey, can I meet your kid?" Nope. This is after like about 2-3 months, and then I kind of asked her. I was like, "You want to go to a show with me?" And she was like, "Yeah, I guess I'll go with you." And then a week later, I was just kind of like, "So what's going on here? Are we like a thing or what's going on?" She's like, "Well, I thought I told you I was married." And I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm still married." And I'm like, so what was at the apartment? And she's like, oh, we rent that out. I'm like, so you're still with your husband, but you're like dating guys on Tinder, and does he know about
What?
it? And she's like, not really.
What?
And then she's like, so are we still going to the show on Friday? Or, and I'm like, nah,
No.
I don't think that's going to work out for me.
That's amazing. That is
Yeah.
so amazing.
Not super proud of that one. I was kind of
Well, I mean, how would you know? I mean,
got the
you
net thrown on over me.
yeah, you don't expect to be lied to like that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I've never I've never been on any of the social dating apps. I've been with my wife. We'll be together in 2000, what next year's 2023. So it'll be 19, no, 18 years.
Wow.
18? Is it
That's
18? No, it was 18. 2008. So 12, 13, 14. No, 15. Sorry. I can't do math. 15. It'll be 15 years next year.
that's a long time.
Yeah, it was a long time. I'm married for 7. Um, so yeah, I never had to do the whole dating app stuff, but it's one of those things. It's like I'm glad I didn't have to. But
Yeah.
when there's wild shit like that that
It's
happens, it's
hell.
like,
It's like the Wild West out there, man. It's
yeah,
bad.
that's funny.
Like I'm happy. I'm happy I'm in a relationship now with somebody super special. Um, but like we just don't talk about anything before we were dating, but like randomly we'll bring up stuff like I told her that story about the married chick, and she was like I was just like kind of like sitting there on the couch. I'm like, yeah. So one time I went on a Tinder date with a married girl, and she told me she was married like after the third date, and she was like, what?
Yeah. But those, I mean, the technology is weird because I just did a marketplace thing. I went to see something that someone was selling, and I was very concerned about, like you said earlier, about if I go here, like let's say I'm going to a warehouse to see this machine, um, and this guy just puts a knife in my back and I'm dead. Like, how weird is that?
That's very weird.
And then like people like using Ubers and stuff, like they're telling especially females, I mean, it could be anybody, but females to make sure they check the door to make sure that the child safety lock isn't on.
Yeah.
Like that's so crazy to think about.
Mm. Yeah, Jesus, people are just nuts these days.
Yeah.
Whew. All
Got to
right.
write a song about that.
I should. I mean, I've only taken an Uber once, and that was in Las Vegas. And even then, I was a little uncomfortable. But that's a whole story in itself. So last year I flew out to Vegas because Tyler from Condition Oakland was getting married to his wife, Sweet Anne Marie, and they were on tour for like 2 months. They told everybody, "Yeah, we're going on tour. We're taking a tour. It's going to be me and it's going to be Anne, and we're just touring. That's what we're doing." And then they're like, "Hey Ted, by the way, we're getting married in Vegas, and we want you to come out and be our best man. So you should definitely come out." And I was like, "Okay." So I bought the plane ticket, and I went out there, and I made everybody believe that I was going out there to pitch an animated series. So I had a whole alibi and everything. So people were like, wait a minute. Tyler and Ed are playing in Nevada this day, and Ted's going to be there. I wonder if they're planning something. But no, like I went out there for the wedding. I actually wore this jacket, and there's pictures. I'm shaking Elvis's hand in the picture. But anyways, so after the wedding, which was a beautiful ceremony, we decide that we're going to walk the strip. We parked the car by Fremont Street in a parking garage, and we just walked the strip. And it took us about 2-3 hours to walk from Fremont Street all the way down to the main Las Vegas Strip. And they had the chapel gave them a free bottle of champagne, and that bottle of champagne was gone for them by that time. And they were just like, I don't want to walk anymore. It's like 2 a.m. They're like, let's get an Uber. And I'm like, an Uber in Vegas? I don't think that's a good idea. But the guy was very nice. He blasted Jungle Love the entire time we were going there. Like, I'm pretty sure he had it on repeat.
Seems about right.
Yeah,
That's
but
funny.
that's my experience with Uber so far.
One and only? That's it?
I'm one and only. I've never taken another Uber. Actually, Chris Decker, who I used to play with, he was an Uber driver for a while, and I rode in the car with him while he was on the clock, technically. So I guess I Ubered twice.
Uber's a wonderful thing. I wish when I was like 21 that Uber existed. Um because taking a cab really wasn't uh not that it wasn't an option. It just wasn't I don't know. That was scary. Taking a
Yeah.
cab was scary. But Uber, not so much. I've Ubered a lot of times as a grown adult. It's very safe. Don't have to worry about drinking and driving.
Well, I mean, I don't drink, so I never really had
Oh, okay.
yeah, I had like I mean, I used to drink a lot, but that was before Uber was a thing. So, back then if Uber was a thing, I would have been all about it,
Right.
but it kind of popped up after I stopped drinking and I'm just like, well, son of a bitch, this would have been really convenient.
Now, is there a reason you stopped drinking?
Um, I just did not like the person I was because I had a lot of problems with alcohol and I
Mm,
just one day I kind of just dusted myself off after a house party and I was just kind of like, yeah, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I gotta stop this.
sure.
So I it was on St. Patrick's Day of 2013 and I had played a house show and I had gotten a DUI the previous November and I didn't want to drive home, so I was just like, I'm gonna sleep here on the floor. And I'm like, nobody fuck with me. And they're like, all right, all right, all right, won't fuck with you. And of course, my best friend decided to draw all over my fucking face,
Yep.
and people were keeping me up all night and accusing me of doing things that I like didn't do. Like, why would I steal your cocaine if I don't do cocaine? Um, and it's just the whole like party scene. Like, it's just for me, it got so exhausting and just like it just felt like I was just eating away at myself. So I was just like, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. And like, I just drove home. And the next day, I just quit cold turkey. And then a month later, I didn't realize how severe alcohol withdrawal is, and I had to end up going to a doctor and get put on medication until my body kind of like evened itself out, and then I was all right.
Hmm.
So
It's good that you can recognize it because some people can't, and they get caught up
yeah.
in that and they just, it's a dark hole.
Yeah, well, some people can drink leisurely and be normal, but some people can't, and that's a problem for them. So it's whatever, it's not saying alcohol is a bad thing. I'm just saying if you have a problem with it, you should probably seek professional
Seek
help.
seek help for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, I did sober October a couple years ago. I was kind of, it was like during the pandemic. So, my thing was always, I was always out, when I was at the Weekender, I was out doing stuff at night with the Weekender, and I was younger and I was in radio doing the same thing. And, you're always going to a concert or a holiday party, this, that, and the other thing. And, alcohol always was like associated with those things. But 2020, nothing was going on. I thought, I couldn't remember a time, even like before I was 21, where I would go, a week without alcohol. Like, at least, the weekend you partying with your college friends and shit like that. So I was like, holy shit. So from like 2002 or three, all the way to 2020. So like, let's say it's 17 or 18 years. There wasn't one week that I like didn't have a drink. And that's like kind of wild to think about.
Mhm.
So I did sober October, and I should have kept going with it just because I did feel a lot better as the month went on. But then my birthday was November 1st, Had a drink, and then it's Thanksgiving, and then it's Christmas, and then name name excuse to have a drink, But
Yeah.
I was just kind of glad. I was like, do I have a problem? I don't think I have a problem, but I don't know because I never tried to not drink before, and yeah,
Well, if you go out on the weekends and you have 2 or 3 drinks, 5 drinks, and that's what you're going to have for the week mostly, and maybe you have like a beer or two like throughout the week, you don't have a problem. Now, if you wake up at 10 a.m. and have a beer before you go to work, then you probably have a problem,
sure.
because I had moments like that, um, and I definitely did have a problem.
But you recognize it, you took care of it. That's good. It's
Yeah,
awesome. Good for you. That's sweet.
yeah. This is probably terrible PR for you, because you just released like a beer or something, didn't you?
Yeah. Yes. Well, I mean, it's sold out. It's sold out in 2 days.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, and this is not bad PR. I mean, the fact that you know overcame a problem you had, that's great. That's a lot of people can't recognize the problem. They get too far in and they can't get themselves out of it. So, good for you
Yeah.
for being able to address that and say, hey, you know what? I gotta, figure this shit out, because if I don't, this is going nowhere fast. So thank you for sharing. That's awesome. Some people can't even do that. They have problems, they get fixed, but they don't even talk about it. So you did all the above. Good for you.
Mm.
So, but back to who Ted Hazard is as a musician. Like, you have a very unique voice. Um, some could say it's not for everyone. Um, I'm sure you can appreciate that. Um, it's unique. It's I like it. And there's like some of your earlier stuff. I feel like there was like hints of early Saves the Day
Mm.
tones. Um, but talk about your music and what people who may not have heard of you before, what they can expect from it. And again, like your voice, what's the word? Is it is it grovelly? Is that the word I want to use? Or is that
A
a word?
lot
Am I
of
making it up?
people have a lot of people have compared my style to. I've heard one person say it's like if Tom Waits was in Green Day
Okay.
but didn't have the band.
Okay.
And I'm kind of like accepting that, relishing in that. But recently, like the last couple of years, more and more people have been saying I'm more like less folk punk these days, as I am more of like kind of like blues slash. Some people have called me like indie grass, which I think is a really cool term. I've never heard that before, so I kind of like just took that and ran with it, because it's less and less folk punk as the years go on. Because a lot of people will hear folk punk and it's like you tell them folk punk, you're like, oh, so you're one of those guys who just like strums on the guitar really fast and screams. And I'm like, no, I don't do that. I play songs and I put a lot of emotion into it, and I have a really deep, gravelly singing voice, yes. And a lot of people really love that. And yeah, it's not for everybody. But if I sounded like every other singer out there these days, then I don't think anybody would like me.
Sure.
Either everybody would like me and I would sound exactly like everyone else, and it'd be like I'd be like a dime a dozen, or I can just be this unique person with my own unique style, and people will just be like, "Oh, that's Ted Hazard. I know who that is."
Right. Well, it's funny you say that, because when you said the Charles Manson Dance Academy, I put the two and two together. The voices, they're the same. I'm like, wow, holy shit. I didn't realize that until just now. So yeah, it's unique. It's good. I like it.
Mm.
But with it not being for everyone, like, did you ever have trouble like booking shows?
Not not normally. I don't really have any issues booking shows these days. In
Good.
fact, I'm trying to book less just because I'm so busy. It's a really slippery slope, because I have a full band now that play my songs, and like we got I think we have 2 shows left this year, and one of the no, yeah, we have 2 shows left this year. One of them is at Curry in Wilkes-Barre, and one of them is a house show in Wilkes-Barre. So it's like, yeah, I'll play Wilkes-Barre because it's only like a half-hour drive from me. But like, I get offers all the time to play places in like Buffalo, New York, or like, hey, you should come on down to Virginia and do a show here. And it's like, I can't do Virginia in a weekend. Like, it has to be a tour. So it's not difficult finding shows now. And I will get on some like softer singer songwritery stuff, and people seem, a lot of older people when I do those things kind of seem to appreciate me. They're like, yeah, you're kind of like a really, really angry Johnny Cash.
Yeah, I didn't ask that question because I was like, oh, it's your music's weird. It was one of those things where maybe a lot of venues want people who play the top 40 stuff or sound similar to that,
Mm,
something that might be more appealing to the masses as opposed to something different and unique like your style.
yeah.
So
Well, I mean, if I don't appeal to the mainstream, I'm not really going to lose any sleep at night.
sure.
I feel like I have a niche audience, and that's fine with me.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I can't get over the amount of music that you have out there. That's awesome. I'm really looking forward to this new album that's coming out December 2nd.
Yeah.
Now, do you have anything lined up to kind of coincide with the release of that, like a show, or is it kind of around the Curry show that you talked about, or are you just kind of putting out there and seeing what happens?
Oh, that reminds me. I do have a release show on December 2nd,
That's good.
and that's actually in Pottsville at Pilgaroo. It's a brewing company slash bar, and I'm going to be playing with Horse Professor, Churches and Trains, and Beelzebub and the Screaming Demons. But December 10th is the Curry show.
Cool.
So that'll be my first Wilkes-Barre show after the album is released. And I'm going to have CDs, which I
Oh,
don't know if you remember those,
whoa,
but like
whoa, whoa.
apparently they're making a comeback, and everybody's having like a big fit about it. They're like, oh, but vinyl just came back and now CDs are back, and it makes me feel old. And I'm like over here like, great, because getting vinyl pressed is insanely difficult.
Right.
Every single vinyl distributor I've talked to, I was like, hey, how much to get vinyl done? They're like, over $1,000. And I'm like, ooh, not going to do that. Got to find a record label. And then I shopped the record around for a month, and my old label was like, hey, Matt Pless isn't putting out any records soon. Do you want to do a record with us again? And I'm like, well, what do you know? I have 17 songs ready to go. Do you want to pay to get vinyl done for me? They're like, hell yeah, let's do it. And then nobody can get vinyl to us within a year.
Hmm.
So it's a slippery slope. So I was just kind of like, let's get CDs done. Maybe people will buy them. And what do you know? People are getting back into CDs again.
Which is
So
crazy. And I was gonna say, like cars don't even have CD players anymore, but then again,
right,
cars didn't have record players either. So,
right,
but I never got into the whole vinyl craze. I mean, I was buying CDs up until probably maybe 2 or 3 years ago before I just like financially kind of kicked myself in the ass and said, yo, dude, you can't keep doing this. Cause I was going in Gallery Sound just to go in there and I would walk out spending $50 every time. And I was doing that once or twice a week. So I'm walking out with CDs, spending between $200 and $300 a month. And I'm like, I can't keep doing this. This is
right.
not financially responsible. But yeah, I don't think I would go back. I don't know if I would go back to buying CDs again. I just the thought of having all that, like, I mean, my collection as is just too much. I'm holding on to it so when my kids get older, maybe they can kind of, maybe it'll be cool again at that time. And they can kind of
Right.
dig through it. But I also like what I find about even like DVDs and CDs. Like I like going through it because you can kind of go through and what you have is what you have. Like when you have the phone in your hand, you have unlimited access to everything. So it's like it's hard to think about what you might want to listen to, right? Whereas if you're looking at a CD collection, you can kind of go CD by CD and, oh, I haven't listened to Bare Naked Ladies in 20 years. Let's throw that on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I feel like it's more of a, with CDs anymore, I feel like it's more of a collector's kind of thing. Like, they're making a lot of like actual CD and cassette players again. So I feel like it's going to be like how vinyl is. It's like you're not going to listen to CDs in your car. You're going to have your phone with you and listen into the Bluetooth, which is what I do. I love it. Like I didn't get a car with Bluetooth until 2020, and when I finally figured it out, I was like, oh my God, my whole world is just opened up for me. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna listen to different music every day. And then like I just listened to the same music for 5 days. Like I'd listen to the Interrupters for 5 days straight and get bored with it and be like, all right, what else is on here? But yeah, I feel like it's just gonna be people like collectors, and they'll go home and they'll like that experience of just sitting at home and putting the CD on their CD player and just listening to it in their house.
Yeah. Maybe I'll get lucky. There's times where I've gone out and bought CDs, and I just bought it because I loved the artist and I wanted to quote unquote support them. So I just brought it home and put it on my shelf. So it's like still in the packaging. So maybe one day, 30 years from now, maybe one of those CDs will be worth a ton of money.
Yeah, perhaps.
Maybe like the iPhone. I heard that the original iPhone in its original package went for some insane amount of money.
I still have not ever had an iPhone in my
What?
life. Never, shockingly, not once.
What do you use?
I've just been using, I forget what I used until, because I've been using a Samsung Galaxy
Okay, well,
since
so you have a smartphone, so whatever.
2018, but before that, I don't even know what I was using. I had one of those phones where you'd like slide it up and there was the little keyboard on the
Yeah,
bottom.
okay. Dude, I would go back to that time like tomorrow if I could.
Right.
Like, I would love to have like a flip phone where it would take you an hour to text your friend. So therefore, I just wouldn't do it. Or like you were only accessible if someone called you. Like, there was no email on your phone, no Facebook notifications, no Instagram, no Twitter, nothing.
Right.
Give me the flip phone back.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I got a lot going on, so like my phone is always blowing up. It's always, sorry, it's always something with a music or a show, or something with band practice, or something with a voice acting gig, and my phone just keeps blowing up. And sometimes when I'm at home, like with the girlfriend, I'm just like, I just put the phone aside and I let it die. And I'm like, I'll get to that when I get to that, because like right now I just need to disassociate from the world as an entirety and just kind of veg out for a little bit on the couch. And when I'm ready to deal with that again, I'll go back.
Right. That's good. You have to kind of separate yourself from
Right.
the machine. But well, dude, I'm excited. Actual CDs, December 2nd, deconstructive criticism. What
Yeah.
any titles of songs you could share that it might
I
be fun?
could I could share the entire track listing with you if you'd like. I have
Yeah.
it right here.
Let's do it.
Hold on, let me.
17 tracks. That's a banger too. Like that's unheard of. I don't think a local musician has put out a full length like that since Stay Loud. I think Stay Loud just put out like a 15 or 16 song.
Yeah, when we were mixing the final, the final mix of the CD at 5 a.m, like Joe Loftus usually likes to do. That's when he does his best work. He kind of just looked over at me with a big smile on his face, and he put his hand on my shoulder, and he was like, "No more 17-song albums." And I'm just like, "All right, I'll put out a 5-song EP next."
What was it like working with Joe? I feel like
Joe,
a lot of people, a lot of local musicians have worked with Joe and Jay. You mentioned Jay Preston from S Dakota.
yeah,
That studio has become like this, like a it's not just a studio. It's like almost like a community, so to speak. It's been pretty cool to see a lot of the local musicians come in and out of there and talk about their experiences there. What was it like for you?
Well, I've been going to Joe actually on and off since 2003. My first band, which was a punk band called Joking Hazard, went there when Joe was still in the basement. Um, and we ripped our first album there, and it was really cool. And I think at that time Joe wasn't actually recording full time. I think he was just doing it part time. And then I think like the following year or so he started doing it full time. But I recorded there as Choking Hazard. I recorded there as Terror Town High, which is another band I was in. And then I recorded there as another band called Pope Fiction. And then I kind of, moved out on my own. Didn't really have the money to do like a big record. So I was mostly just recording myself. And then when Charles Manson Dance Academy started doing stuff, everybody was like, "Oh, let's record. I know a guy who records. I know a guy with like a home studio, or I know a guy who can do it with a 4-track." And I'm just kind of thinking to myself after we tried these guys, I want this to sound good. I'm like, let's go to Joe Loftus, and they're like, "Who's that?" I'm like, that's the Tiger's Jaw guy. You don't know who that is? So I, messaged Joe. I was like, "Yo, I want to do." I'm like, "I haven't heard from you in like 10 plus years. I want to do a record with you." He's like, "Come on down. Let me know when you're available." So since we did the Charles Manson Dance Academy CD, I just was like, I'm like, that's it. Like, I'm like ride or die now. I'm just going to Joe for my stuff because it just sounds so much better. And then I think I did martial law with Tyler from Condition Oakland just because it was the pandemic and everywhere was closed. And then when Joe opened back up, I was like, man, can I do an acoustic record with you? Do you do acoustic records? He was like, yeah, absolutely. And we had an absolute blast when we did that one because it was just me, my friend Chris Decker, who helped with some instrumentation, and Joe. And we did And the Flowers Are Still Standing. And the original track of that was just guitar and me singing because I really didn't have any ideas for it. And then Joe was like, hold the phone, wait right there. I've got an idea. He runs in the studio. He's like, hit play on the board. So I did. So he just starts adding bass drum to it. And then he's like, now what I want you guys to do after I get this, in time, I want you to add claps to it. So it'd be like bump, bump, and then we added like a tambourine to give it kind of like a little chain effect. And like he just like lit up like the 4th of July. He's like, yeah, I fucking love the singer songwriter shit. I love this kind of percussion shit. And I never saw him so excited to do something on a record before.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But working with Joe was a lot of fun. This record was really cool because we did a lot of different things. We really, really, really tried. When I did the last record with them, most of the songs I played guitar and sang at the same time, and then I just overdubbed everything else. This record, we did all the instrumentation first, or most of what we needed, and then I did the vocals. And to isolate everything and kind of just, work on it individually just makes the record sound so much bigger, which is awesome. And then we were going to have a drummer, so like we did a click track to everything. And then the 3 drummers that said they would drum on my record all were busy. They all had something to do. So what I did was I did a little trick I did on an old record. I did called Candlelight, and I employed a washboard with a stick attached to it. Now, the idea of the washboard with the stick is you use the actual stick as the bass drum, and the washboard itself kind of acts as the snare. So I put a tambourine on a brush, and I would hit the metal part of the washboard, kind of act like the snare, and I would hit the stick on the ground like the bass drum. And when we went back on the second day to add percussion, Joe's like, we have this thing. It's like a pedal that you step on, and I thought maybe we could use that as a bass drum for the record. So I show up with this washboard stick contraption, and he's like, or we could try your thing, but I think we're going to try the pedal first. I'm like, all right. So we tried the pedal. He's like, all right, let's try your thing now. So I started playing it with the song, and he just stops. He's like, all right, get rid of this pedal thing. We're just doing your thing because it sounds way cooler.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But yeah, working with Joe was a lot of fun.
I've heard great things. I've only been down there one time. I was doing some voice stuff for like, or interview stuff for Main the Medicine and Thai Soul. I was like I did one of their lead-in things for that. And I was only down there one time. But we had pizza from Benny's, which was fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, Joe and Jay were great. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Speaking of
oh yeah, well, I was just gonna say, go. You asked the question. It's your show.
no, I was done.
I was gonna say I've been there tons of times, and like I'm a legitimate like verified voice actor. I've not once done any voice acting gigs at Joe Loftus's, which is surprising to me.
Speaking of voice stuff, I did a little segment for you on one of your animated things.
Yeah, I was thinking about that today. Actually,
That was
that was cool. That was a really cool thing about the pandemic was like, because I've been doing like animation stuff for years, and I don't know voice actors, so I'm always just like, hey, get my friends to do this, or I'll just do it myself.
Yeah.
And then when everybody kind of was at home, like we all kind of found each other, like everyone who did cartoons like on the internet, and then it kind of turned into, hey, you want to do like a voice thing on my thing? And it was like, oh yeah, and then you could do a voice thing on my thing, and it'll be like, oh, those guys know each other. That's cool.
Yeah.
And then well, that was really cool because that kind of spitballed into me actually getting people like emailing me and be like, hey, would you like do a voice part for like my thing for money? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. That seems like a little bit much, but yeah, sure, I'll do it. And I don't know. I guess I started that in 2020. I guess it's like 2 years later, I'm actually getting like, like regular voice work, which for me, I feel like is like nuts, because
now, as far as voice work goes, like what, like, do you have to change your voice for some of these characters and things, or like, is this just they're looking for like straight reads, or how does that look?
oh no, like I got to change my voice for a lot of the characters.
Yeah, like accents and stuff.
Accents, deep voices, high voices, funny voices.
That's cool.
Different dialects. It's just it's wild because like it kind of just started with me like working in a kitchen and just doing like funny voices all the time and people laughing, and then I would do my own cartoons, and I'm like, I don't want this guy to sound just like this guy, so I'm just gonna change my voice a little bit. And then I never even thought while I was doing that, like, hey, I can kind of make a career out of this, and it just kind of happened, without me even really trying.
That's cool.
But it's pretty cool.
Very cool. Well, hit us with some of these track titles.
Oh yeah, I have it over here. It's all up. Okay, so the first title is Gatekeeper.
Okay.
That's a kind of a funny one, but not. Second one is Insurance Policy. Third one is Destructive Criticism, which is the title track. One is Shitty, that's a funny song. Marquee, which is actually on Spotify right now, the old version. Cancel Me, which actually just released on Spotify on Friday. Nihilistic Northeast Pennsylvania. Let's see what else we got here. Anarchist Hotel, which is not very funny. This one's called Cody, which is just a name. House on the Hill, that's on Spotify. 2 a.m., that's on Spotify. Miserable Young Man, which is kind of funny. This one's funny. Blue Lights Matter, like like the Kmart Blue Light Special.
Right.
Blue Lights Matter. That song's
Right.
about working in retail. 2022, Helping Hands, Mercy Kill, and Cocaine Elvis Vibes. And those are all the song titles.
Very cool. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing them.
Oh yeah, I'm really excited for the record to come out. I think people are going to be blown away by how immersive it is.
Yeah. Where can people find you on online?
Spotify, just look up Ted Hazard. YouTube, Ted Hazard, got all my cartoon stuff on there, a little bit of music stuff too. If you Facebook, look up Ted Hazard on there. There's my personal profile, which is a verified creator profile now, and then there's my music page, which is also Ted Hazard. I don't understand why Facebook did that, because now it's like I have two Facebooks.
Right.
And then I have a Twitter, Ted Hazard, Instagram, Ted Hazard. It's all Ted Hazard across the board.
And that's Ted with 2 D's.
2 D's, 1 Z. A lot of
2 D,
people
1
think
Z.
it's spelled like Dukes of Hazzard.
Right. Of course. Of course. Well, Ted, thanks for doing this.
Absolutely.
It was nice to
Had a blast.
to say more than 2 words to you and me be sober. I'm sure last time we met at the V spot, and well, maybe not. I don't think, because 2020, I was there with my wife. I probably wouldn't have got out of hand. It's when she's not there that I get out of hand. The last 2 years, I got out of hand. Not out of hand. I just had a good time. I Ubered there this past year, and then Ryan Grutt from University Drive drove me home.
I've never met those guys. I keep hearing about University Drive, but I've never met them.
No.
And it's so weird because mostly everybody, a lot of people know who I am. It's like if you say, hey, Ted Hazard, oh yeah, he's that guy with that fuck you, it's Christmas song, right? That's who that is. But I don't meet a lot of these people. It's like, oh, I'm from University Drive. I'm like, oh, I heard of that band once.
Yeah.
Once or twice. It's just so weird.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to get out there and be a part of it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Make it to all the shows, and I think they're playing. This will be released probably a day or two before they play. They're playing up your way, the Keystone stage, which I think is an Oliphant now.
That's the opposite direction of me. I'm in Hazleton.
Oh, you're in Hazleton. Oh, I don't know why I thought you were in Scranton.
No, Hazleton.
Oh, okay, well, there you go.
Yeah, I'm on the ass end of Northeast PA.
Well, that makes sense though. Law and Order SUV Hazleton.
Yes.
There you go. But
all the big kids get to play in Scranton and Wilkes-Barre, and then I'm just behind. I'm like, hey, everybody, I'm here too. And they're like, hey, Ted, how you doing?
Well, now I get it. Why? Yeah, it's probably it's not the easiest drive to make. I mean, it's not that far, but it's not next door by any means. Hazleton.
Yeah. I mean, when you're used to doing like 4-hour drives for tours and stuff, it's really not that big of a deal.
No big deal, right? Yeah. So, well, Ted, thank you again. Looking forward to the new album, December 2nd, Deconstructive Criticism, available on all the streaming services.
It's destructive criticism. Did I say deconstructive?
I think I said it wrong.
Okay.
Destructive criticism.
Yes.
Deconstructive criticism. Yeah. Destructive.
It's confusing because I have an album called Self Reconstruction and another EP called Self Deconstruction.
Yes.
So
yes, I'm getting them all mixed up and putting them together. But destructive criticism, December 2nd, streaming services and CD, which is wild. So as far as the CD goes, is that going to be available online or just at shows that you have?
We're going to do it at shows online. I'm going to try to get it in Gallery of Sound.
There you go.
That's a big maybe though. And I'm sure I'm going to be able to get it at Young Ones down in Kutztown.
Okay.
Because they still they actually had a lot of my records for a long time, so I'm going to try to get it in there too.
Gallery of Sound used to have a nice like section of local music, but like that was when local musicians put out albums. Like
Yeah.
now it's all digital. So it's
Mm.
I'm sure they still exist. Probably a small section, all the albums from '06 and shit like that. But
I think I saw a Running with the Kid album there a couple of months ago, and I was like, this came out in '06. It's still here.
yeah. So well, best of luck, man. Hopefully I can catch one of your shows that you have coming up. Or hopefully you're booking out in the next year, and I'll see you soon.
All right. I'll see you soon too. Thanks
All
for
right, buddy.
having me.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
No problem.
All right, we'll see you.
Bye.